What's up, Rusty? Carl's in here. Rusty, if you just click on the comments in the top right, you'll be able to see the YouTube comments that come in. And then we'll just want to monitor the Discord too. That's probably the only other one, so we can get any other questions for people that come in. How's everybody doing? Or how are you doing? I guess we got Carl here. Anybody else watching? What do we got? Well, we got 5 people on here already. Haven't done a podcast, haven't done a AMA in a while. Like it's like got to get back into the swing of things, figure out how to do these things. How you doing, Rusty?
I'm doing good. I'm just trying to connect with YouTube.
Are you going to have one of those moments where somebody like naked just kind of walks behind you in your screen there?
No, I took everybody out today, so that shouldn't happen.
Gala Node Guide. What's up, man? Haven't talked to you in a while either. Good to see you on the stream. Yeah, I think, there's the main focus of this. I want to start by saying this is the first. We're going to do another AMA at the beginning of May. This is just kind of going to go over the state of where we're at now. As everybody knows, we've been talking Clarity Act. Nothing's coming to fruition until supposedly the Senate Bank Committee is going to get floor time this month. I'm assuming sometime next week is the last thing that I've really read. Now, again, it depends on the day, right? Like you're going to read, oh, they've come to some agreement. It's going to be great. Like everybody's happy. And then the next day or next hour, nobody can agree on anything. The banks don't want yield. And, Coinbase CEO is killing the deal. So those are your kind of 2 narratives that you see going back and forth. We're obviously tired of it as much as you guys are. So, and I know we've had debates back and forth in the Discord about, why the Clarity Act, why not just utilize what, guidance the CFTC and the SEC are currently putting out, which in all honesty is great. And we've taken that into consideration on our end as well. But it's still something that we don't want to rush into. And if we can actually get laws passed and pushed through that are clear and concise and give us a runway that aren't, the ability to just kind of be rolled back as easily, it makes us as founders more comfortable with what we're doing to make sure that we're abiding by the law. Like I stated in there too, it's not just about launching the token, launching a token in a way that, we as founders are putting ourselves at risk because of the lack of clarity, for lack of a better word, in the ecosystem. I've been around for a long time. Yes, people launch tokens all the time. We came about this in a different manner, and this is proof in the pudding of like what we've actually delivered so far of, a working network, which is great. So with that aside, like we want to make sure that we address it as soon as possible as that comes through and we see kind of what's going to happen there, which we're assuming we're going to see something in later this month. And so we're going to set a date today. Rusty, you and I, after this, let's look at the calendars and we'll put something out so that way people can put it on their calendars too. It'll be beginning of May though, most likely, for the next one. So, but today let's talk about, first, let's go with whatever questions you have. I know there wasn't a ton of submissions, but I have some other stuff I'll talk about too if there's no other questions that come in. So
you guys can put them in that YouTube chat, and I'll help Nate select some of them. If you guys want to put some in. If not, I can go to the one question that was submitted.
Let's go to the one question first.
Let me pull it up. Give me 1 minute.
Sorry if I sound funky too. I've been talking all morning already, so I'm already a little gravelly in the voice. So, but otherwise, we've got a few people in the chat there.
Ooh, we used to get one more come in, but so there's 2. So the first one is Nerd Node. We're now offering OpenClaw. Are those running on the deep devices? And how much of those machines are they using? Do you know kind of the system specs of that's being allocated for the OpenClaw? And do you know how many OpenClaw subscriptions we have?
on this computer, I don't have that in front of me on how many we actually have in terms of subscriptions, but I can put something like that out in the Discord and show people. OpenClaw was our first jump into the Web 2 workload world. And while it's cool in terms of how we have it operating, we definitely want to change the aspect of how it's used in reality, how AI agents are used. And so that's one of the things that we're building internally, because I mean, the AI world's blowing up, especially agents. And if anybody's using, Claude Code or AI agents to do anything, you can see how rapidly it continually changes. The Claude or the Open Claude that we currently have is limited in terms of like your imagination, let's say, and then the ability to, pay for the API that comes through too. So you're not just paying for the workload, but you have to pay for the API tokens that come through, because stuff like Claude Code, they made it so you couldn't use your max plan internally with that, which in the beginning was awesome. Same thing with OpenAI. So it becomes very expensive at that point in time. So right now we're working to add different LLMs that are either cheaper or have the ability, if you have a plan, to be able to use with those. So, but yeah, that's that. So let's write that down, Rusty, to find out how many workloads are currently on there.
I actually just pulled up Stripe, and according to on Stripe, we have 12 customers, but I'm not sure how many instances that goes to, because some of them are using multiple instances. So it's
I know there's a
yeah, and that doesn't include other payment methods. Like sometimes I do over the counter for crypto payments, and I know we took a few for that.
Yeah, we did OTC. I know there's one person that has a lot of OpenClaw workloads going. So, and then when I say a lot, I think he's got like 25. So there's a few of those.
I'd love to know what he's doing with all those 25 OpenClaws.
One of the things I've been chatting with some people. Obviously, we were heavy in the Web3 gaming ecosystem, but gaming in general has always had bots internally. So I know there's a couple of guys that are working in developing AI agents to be a more robust NPC character within a game, per se. Some of these games are utilizing them for initial launch of their games, so they can, one, show users, but not just like a random bot user, but a user that's actually trying to advance the game and not be a suck on the economy and type of stuff. So I know there's a few people that are testing that out internally, which is kind of cool. They're doing it both with OpenClaw and then on their own hardware. I mean, I use OpenClaw for a few things too, but it's nothing crazy. Like I have a river float I use. I go down every year for 4 days, and it's a permit based, and so it's a tough permit to get. So I've got an OpenClaw agent that is set up to actually not just monitor it, but then buy it when it becomes available for the date for myself. So it hasn't bought it yet, so it's not successful, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean the AI ecosystem, and that's kind of, we'll get into a little bit of that more with kind of where we're moving in terms of workload stuff is big, and we really want to start to capture a little bit more of that. So internally, Lynn is a big AI guy. Like he might actually be an AI agent. He's so deep into it now. I don't know, but yeah,
he started really getting into that around Christmas, I want to say.
No, dude, he was in it. So he really honestly got the transition of the team to really utilizing AI in the code base. Before this was, well over a year. When he first came on, he was deep into it. And then the teams just absorbed it. And then as Claude Code has advanced too, it's become to a point where, and a lot of people that are in it, they realize that it's not just the code you can push out, because now you can push out so much code, but the review of the code becomes the issue, because you can push a ton of it out, and it's normally incredibly good, but it still kind of misses things here and there. So you need some review of the code, and now you have this code debt that comes out there. So yeah, Badger Watkins, yes, he's deep into it with 3 E's for sure. As we all are, man. got a few little side projects that I kind of mess around with my son specifically. He's been developing some things too, so it's been fun to watch it advance. Fun and scary at the same time. So, what's the other question? Because you got two.
So the second one has a few parts, but the first kind of part of it is that he wants to know, once we TGE, what are we going to do to help combat sell pressure of the token? And then kind of going in, can you talk a little bit about what the liquidities and the DEXs and what that's going to look like at TGE?
Yeah, so we've talked about DEXs before. Ultimately, the DEX is going to come down to the community itself. If somebody in the community wants to start an LP, they can do that. On our end, there is definitely guidance within the Clarity Act and the stablecoin bill of what you can do as a founder for tokens to be able to, one, provide liquidity, starting of liquidity pools and whatnot. And so on our end, our involvement will be strictly regulated on that end. So more details on that, I think, will come to fruition once we see the Clarity Act, really be solid. But it ultimately comes down to, we can't set pricing, so we can't set liquidity pools, right? As internally, that has to come from the overall ecosystem.
So if someone else starts a liquidity pool, then can we add liquidity to it?
Yeah, and it's, again, it has to come from the deep network itself. So again, staging or steps will be deep DAO, because the deep DAO itself is going to, in the tokenomics, will receive 30% of that, the revenue that comes through of emissions to operate. And from that, they could potentially use that as LP, but that's mostly for operations. There are some guidelines showing how you can use like community funds in certain portions of that. But that is the amount you can provide to liquidity pools, and how you do that is a little bit more detailed, but we can, and that will come down to mostly, like, does the community want the community fund to add some funds to those liquidity pools? What was the first part of that question?
He was asking about our plans to combat sell pressure.
Yes. So sell pressure is, obviously, we've been running these for, coming this December, I think, when the first ones were landed, would be 2 years. So some people have been running for 400 plus days. And thank you very much for those people for being a part of the network, because we wouldn't be able to test and do what we're doing without you guys on that. And there's going to be a lot of tokens available at launch. So there's a couple options that we're going to go down. So we'll probably put forward a vote to implement some sort of vesting or staking schedule on tokens that have already been earned. Now, again, we're not going to dictate that. That's going to be a vote that's going to be pushed out to the ecosystem before the TGE actually happens. Because we've promised you what we were going to do in the first place, which is, you've got these plugin rewards and you're going to have access to them. But if we do that way, there will be definitely a lot of sell pressure on the open market. If somebody starts an LP and people just want to get out, they can. But that definitely puts a sell pressure on it. So we want to put that out to the community of, do you want that initial sell pressure? Or do we want to implement some sort of vesting schedule for those? We are going to have staking options that are going to play. We have a whole bunch of different options for staking internally, whether it be with Workloads or other partnerships that are coming into play to be able to stake on the ecosystem, which will take deep off of the ecosystems. We've implemented, this is something we talked about before, which is a white label NAS. And we have a few out there right now. And one of the options for these NASs as we start to grow too is they will have to stake deep to be able to be a white label NAS as well. So that will take deep off of the market. And we can go into white label NAS if people want more questions on that. But that is a feature added along the way that's pretty powerful when we start talking about partnerships and different ecosystems that we want to onboard and they want to onboard their customers into our community. So
And also, you may want to touch a little bit and reiterate for maybe some new people that might not quite understand. But you want to talk about how the idea when we're paying people in deep token, how that's going to add buy pressure after TGE.
When we're paying people in deep token, it's going to add buy pressure.
Like when we have to, on the open market, we have to buy tokens.
Yeah, I got you. So, and again, this is white label NAS side, not just NerdNode. So the idea has always been that we don't want NerdNode to be the only workload operator in the ecosystem. We want the ability to have other NASs participate in our decentralized infrastructure. And so we made it really easy for people to onboard into that and be their own NAS per se, whether that be a business like we had. Beamable was one of our first businesses. Warp is they are a white label NAS as well for their node ecosystem. They now have the ability to push their customers into that ecosystem to launch on the deep network. So it's a great way for those companies that are out there. There's not many in the Web3 right now. We'll get into that. To do that. And we can apply that to both Web 2 and other ecosystems as well. So there's the buy pressure, right? So people that have to pay for the workloads, they'll have to pay for it in deep to actually run it on there. So every time a workload runs, the deep token will have to be purchased and put towards those SLAs and those workloads. And so that's automatic buy pressure for any workload that's on there. So.
And I see a question asking about workloads on devices and how to see them. If you go to the Discord and go to the official links, we have a new dashboard. If you go there, you can see if you have any workloads. And if you have workloads, if you click your device, you can see if it's Tashi or Helix or whatever it is. And that's already live. That's been live for a little while now. And that's, I'm guessing, you, Chris.
Yeah. And so people can see that. So let's talk about workloads real quick, because, something I've wanted to address that people, they want to know where my workload's at. So NerdNode started as a white label NAS, like much of you know. We were heavy in the Gala ecosystem. That's kind of where it started. Internally, I own nodes, and I had a bunch of friends that own nodes. And then I got in with with that ecosystem and started just running nodes for a lot of other people. And then from there, we expanded out to new ecosystems that we're launching, or some that were already out there, Myria being one of those as well. And from there, we've added, you can go to NerdNode and you can see the list. Well, some of them we've taken them off because that's what we'll get to, is we added a whole bunch more workloads throughout that time frame. And we partnered with people like over the last year, Grid, Beamable, Warp, Tashi, bringing these people on board to add workloads to the ecosystem. And what we've seen, and everybody's been feeling the pinch of it as well, is the Web3 ecosystem, and those specifically the node ecosystems have ultimately been dying. Grid sent out a letter, stating that they didn't even launch a token. They were just like, sorry, you guys are SOL. That blows. I don't like that, obviously. Beamable, we're not getting any communication from Beamable at all. And I know, Rusty, you've been running Beamable nodes yourself personally. You guys haven't been receiving any rewards for a little while, like a couple of weeks, right?
It's been about 2 weeks since anyone, regardless of who they host with, have received anything from Beamable. I believe their CF, their community manager, is no longer with them, which he's stated publicly. I don't really know what's going on with Beamable any more than anyone else in the community, or Nate knows. Like, we're on the same page as you guys. Yeah,
and I had a direct telegram internally with them as well, and they're just silent in there. I get nothing back on that end. So that's unfortunate. In last year started with with Gala node ecosystem. They were one of the big hitters in the node side, and they kind of rug pulled their node holders by just randomly coming out and saying, now you have to stake 1 million Gala. And at the time when they announced it, I think it was like another $12,000 worth of Gala people would have to buy initially just to run their node. And so they lost a ton of people running nodes. They were just like, this ain't worth it. And then go down the list. Just recently, we've, Playable, which we, worked with to get their node ecosystem up. They just took off their actual requirement for hardware. And what we saw internally was they just weren't doing their end of that. Like they weren't keeping up code that they were running on AWS to just keep these software ping nodes running, which is, in all honesty, ridiculous.
Well, like we
and
were
so,
getting rate limited all the time when we were trying to deploy nodes, and that wasn't our fault. If they paid their
in all honesty, and this is what we've come across in a lot, we've offered to create this node ecosystem for people to be able to run it. Like this is what we do internally. Like in the unfortunate part in the Web3 side is there's a lot of scams and a lot of people just looking to harvest money off of people. And with us even just offering our services to help their community, people just turned it down. Just outright. Like Playable was one of those, which is completely an unfortunate fact. Like we offered our services to be able to do it, not even charging them anything, to be able to help them internally and get that going and running. And they just never, they would never want to do that, or they wouldn't take any of our information to help, get it running when they were having the issues. Myria, funny enough, Myria was the one ecosystem that we never had problems with. And that's because they never changed their code from day one. That was working. Like they got it to where it was working. And the only time it would go down is when their own internal code base that they needed to run their node ecosystem, which they ran on AWS, when AWS went down. So, this is the state of the network that we've been coming across, and why we accelerated one OpenClaw right away. We saw we wanted to get it out there. We really we need to get into the Web2 ecosystem. So, while we have customers that are in Web3 and we still have to maintain those customers and in what is running right now, the Web3 ecosystem in Node-wise has really kind of taken a dive. Now, we did add validators for AVAX. We've got some people, coming in on those, which is great. But there's not a ton of people that run those. We did it because we're going to have to run our own internally, right, as being an L1. But yeah, I think that's the state of that. But which is unfortunate. Bear markets do that. But what we have, with the help of you guys, have built right now, we have the opportunity to still push this into viable Web3 ecosystems. And I'll talk about one of those that we're really looking at and talking to some internal people there, and Web2. Like, whether it be photo storage, your own photo storage, whether website hosting, we are working on launching those type of workloads for people as well. And, to benefit the deep device owners more than just you having to pay for a workload, like to be able to give you the option of that and, making it really easy and streamlined for you, because you do have this device. It'd be great for you guys. If you need that, why not use it? And so that's something that we're developing internally as well, to make sure that it's something that you device owners can have as well. Before I go into the other Web3 workloads, is there any other questions that came in, Rusty? I've been yabbering away. So
yeah, I just want to address one thing. You mentioned Playable a minute ago. If any of you guys have any Playable subscriptions, open a ticket, and I will give you prorated credits for the remaining of your subscription. Other questions? We have someone asking or mentioning that it would be really cool to show CPU usage in the dashboard, or maybe RAM usage, and other metrics like that. And I agree. I think that would be really cool. One thing I have requested is to the first thing I requested was a bandwidth monitor, but definitely CPU and maybe even hard drive storage. And those are all things that I think would be really, really cool and useful to add to the dashboard. But there's a lot of priorities going on right now, and we'll get there. I don't know how long it'll take. But
we were able to work with a couple of the devs like directly, because we pushed off the actual network side because it was starting to be much more stable. And then we saw the new dashboard come up. We actually had the white label NAS dashboard is live now, so that's getting pushed out to those partners, which is out there, which is great for them. But same thing, we need to add those different features that you want. Maybe we need to have like an ongoing feature list, not just from you, Rusty. You got a lot of good ones, but the community has them too. So I don't know if you have that. That'd be great to kind of get internal, so we can get that in front of the dev side.
Yeah, I could open up some sort of Google form, and then I can add that to the list that you have that I've made, and then I can pretty much import them.
Cool.
Anything else, guys? Let me check the Discord. I've just been watching the
YouTube. So George, I understand your concern and your doubt, which is understandable, and in from your viewpoint, it's hard to see the back end workings. Like my goal as a founder is finding other partners that can come into play and be a part of the network and want to launch on this network. Again, we started Web3. Web3 has been kind of in a downslide, like we've discussed earlier. But one of the ecosystems that is like really excites the team internally, and we've been actually talking to it's the Tau network. So anybody that knows and have been following Tau, they have subnets underneath them that they really focus on AI and different services in the AI industry, whether it be an LLM or other compute internally that they're trying to do. A lot of them need GPU, but a lot of them still need CPU, which we currently have with these devices. And so we have some meetings, and we actually are testing a couple of workloads right now on some dev devices internally to show some viability for that network. The Tau network itself needs real compute. They are the AI Web3 ecosystem that's out there. And in terms of growth and stability, there's recently they had a little one of their subnets had a rug pull, and what they're looking at is really trying to decentralize a little bit more, which echoes with what we can do and help with them internally. And we're getting a lot of good feedback, which isn't what we've been used to from the Web3 ecosystem. So we're having some talks with them. So that's exciting, and I'm hoping we can kind of get a little more in depth with what that's going to look like here soon too, and be able to really show more workloads on everybody's device as we roll them out. That's the hope. There is, when you think of Tau and these subnets, is anybody can come in and run a miner, with some of these subnets. You can validate too, but then you have to stake. But there's different options that are potentially there that we're trying to work with that would essentially, hopefully, like bring a ton of workloads that we can deploy across a lot of devices to help, one, bolster these subnets that they need the actual work, and then also bring revenue into the ecosystems for these device owners. So and then on top of that, again, we talked about Web 2 workloads. Like we want to really at some point not even distinguish whether it's Web 2 or Web 3, just real viable workloads that can be ran with the ecosystem. So what else? Anything else on there?
There's no questions in Discord or YouTube at this moment that have not been answered.
Okay. I mean, like I said, we're gonna do another one here. We're past the mid of the month, so we're in a probably about 2 to 3 weeks we'll do another one, hopefully covering Clarity Act movement and what that looks like, actual talking about TGE, what that looks like, dates and DAO launch and that kind of stuff. So DAO comes first. DAO and essentially that could all be done in one giant vote, which is a potential. We'll see how that goes and how fast we really want to move once we get some clarity. So cool. Well, we can make it a short one. That's fine. If you guys have questions from this, let's put it into the Discord. If we don't answer it in the Discord itself, we'll do it on the next AMA directly. But most likely we can probably get to some of those in the Discord too. So
you can also put it in the Google form, and then we can post it in. Actually, put it in the Google form, guys, and then we can put one big write-up answering all the questions.
That'd be great. And I appreciate everybody that's been on today that are watching. I know there'll be some that asked specifically for the recording that'll watch it later, and they'll probably have some questions too. So feel free, ask questions there. This last month, it's been a little rough in terms of like communication. Just so you guys know, internally we've had, founders that have been gone on trips that they've had planned for, well over a year, and they were gone, like not even in cell range for a while. And then babies were born and a whole lot of other things, unfortunate family occurrences with some people too. And so it really the pressure, like I wasn't able to communicate as much with people because we had a lot going on. But you got people back. Babies are finally born. You know, hey, we're ready to see things kind of keep moving in that direction. And I appreciate you guys' time. Cool. All right, guys. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.